यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे जय राधा माधव जय, राधा माधव जय, राधा माधव जय, राधा माधव, प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद, शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि 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 बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavatar. Verse number 6, which is on the board. Not a board, sorry, on the screen. We're going modern here. Okay. Please repeat after me. Pashyadityan vasunurudran. Pashyadityan vasunurudran. Ashwino marutastatha. Ashwino marutastatha. Bahuni adrishtapurvani. Bahuni adrishtapurvani. Pasyascharyani bharata. Pasyascharyani bharata. Pasyadityan vasunurudran. Ashwino marutastatha. Bahuni adrishtapurvani. Pasyascharyani bharata. Pasyadityan vasunurudran. Ashwino marutastatha. Bahuni adrishtapurvani. Pasyascharyani bharata. Pasya, see, Adityan, the 12 sons of Aditi, Vasun, the 8 Vasus, Rudran, the 11 forms of Rudra, Ashwinau, the 2 Ashwins, Marutaha, the 49 Maruts, demigods of the wind, Tatha, also, Bahuni, many, Adrishta, that you have not seen, Purvani, before, Pasya, see, Ascharyani, all the wonders, Bharata, O best of the Bharatas. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O best of the Bharatas, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Ashwini Kumaras, and all the other demigods. Behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard before. Purport. Even though Arjuna was a personal friend of Krishna and the most advanced of learned men, it was still not possible for him to know everything about Krishna. Yet it is stated that humans have neither heard nor known of all these forms and manifestations. Now Krishna reveals these wonderful forms. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham mande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam. So, we are continuing in the session of the universal form. The universe is a unity. It is not some scrapped together, some atoms and made into balls called planets and then thrown into space. And no. Everything is organic. It's alive. Everything is very much organized and connected, just like in your body. You cannot just take out one organ and think, oh, it's not needed, throw this out, put something else there. It doesn't work. Everything has a function. Everything is very much connected. So now, those who understand how everything in the universe is very much connected, what functionality it has, how it even influencing our own bodies, the universe, he is really understanding what the universal form is actually saying. So here, behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard of before, Krishna is telling Arjuna. And was another verse actually I was preparing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So if you look in the Gita, then Prabhupada mentions about 5 topics which the Gita is dealing with. Anybody knows these 5 topics of the Gita? Very good. Now these 5 subjects, Ishvara, the supreme controller, Jiva, we who are living in this material world, Prakriti is external, external expanded energy. Then you have karma, activities done under the influence of the modes, and time, right? These 5 other ones. Does that comprise of everything? Can you put everything in these 5 terms? Everything which exists? Yes, and therefore Prabhupada chooses these 5 subjects. If you understand these 5, you can understand everything. So let us see if we can understand these 5. And I'm going to give you some very mystical and interesting quotes. They're not obscure, they're right in the Bhagavatam, but we don't often hear about this. And some are mind-blowing. So I'm going to blow your mind tonight, that you have some good night rest. So let us see. Ishvara we know. Krishna is the supreme controller. He controls everything. How does he control? He controls by remote control. How does he control? Anybody has any clue? How does Krishna control everything? Energy. Through energy. What means energy? What means energy?
Shakti.
Shakti, yes, okay, but then one. Shakti, this is also Shakti. How does he act? How does he control? How does he do that? He has a chisel and a hammer, or he has an army. You're going to control everything. How does he control? By his will. Okay. So then connecting the two, will, Shakti, Ichha Shakti, right? Okay. Anybody else have some other clue how Krishna controls everything? He's in every atom. That's pretty much control. They control everything, right? Mm-hmm. Krishna mentions how he controls everything. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimodhatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered, conditioned soul, by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of everything which is actually carried out by material nature. So material nature is the first controller. So Krishna controls through material nature. Anybody knows the verse which explains how Krishna controls material nature?
If Krishna is the controller of material nature?
Yes, which verse is that of the Gita? Very good. Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagadvi parivartate. What does it mean?
Through my natural energy.
What means adhyakshena? Maya means mind, but what means adhyakshena?
That she expertly, she does
Adhyaksha. Adhyaksha means supervising. Aksha means eyes. Yes. 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 Maya dakshina prakriti.
Moving and not moving.
Yes. Suyate means creates. Suyate sacharacharam. Moving. But everything which is moving, not moving in is creation. Hetunanena kaunteya. Of kaunteya, by this cause, jagat viparivartate.
This jagat manifest.
Yeah, viparivartate. Manifests, changes, grows, shrinks, all that is done by the influence. Very good. You're good students of Bhakti Shastri. Yes, if you want to know Bhakti Shastri, you have to know these verses. Yes. So, now Krishna has described, okay, how he works. Now, from a very interesting point, see, Prabhuji is not here today, Nishin Kavach Prabhu, so I'm going to speak on science. He didn't like science. So from here, what did it develop here? There is when Niels Bohr probably read the Bhagavad Gita, and he read that Krishna says, Maya adhyakshena prakriti sucharitarachanam, by my supervision, by my glancing, by my looking at it, prakriti works and creates everything. So this scientist started thinking, what? Is it like that? That simply by looking at something, you can create something? That is not seen in this world. And then he read further in Upanishad, he saw tad aikshata. Just by his glance, the creation started. They started thinking with the scientific brain that maybe there is something in a glance. Maybe there is something in a consciousness. Maybe there is something in looking. And maybe he went to an Indian restaurant, and there it says, don't look lustfully at my dish, otherwise I get sick. Evil eye. Right? You believe in that, isn't it? You don't believe in it. Therefore, Indians don't like to eat in open. Only close communities, but generally they eat at home, nobody sees. Because somebody is lusty after the food and looks at it, he starts to digest with his eyes, negative energy, and you get sick. They call it najar in common Hindi language. Drishti in Sanskrit, it's there. Evil drishti. So if the eyes are able to do that, are they maybe also able to do something else than that? And he came up with this idea that if you measure material nature, it shapes according to your looks. Very strange, right? This idea. And it was philosophy in the beginning. But then scientists started to experiment in the laboratory. Is it like that, that when you look at something, when you gaze at something, when you consciously observe something, that your gaze, your measurement is changing matter? No, well, that was a surprise. They experimented as follows. They made a double slit experiment, very famous from the 1920s, double slit experiment. What was that? You can imagine a bowling alley where you play with bowling balls, no? And you throw the bowling balls and there's little pions at the end and you throw and they fall. That's the thing, that's the game, that's the enjoyment, right? Now, imagine you take away the pions and put a screen there. Whenever a ball hits, it puts a mark on the screen, okay? That here he hit me. And now, in front of the screen, you put another screen with two openings, slits. So now if you throw a bowling ball and it goes through the slit, it will hit the screen at the back, okay? And there are two of them. So now you throw a few bowling balls, and each time it goes through the slit, it hits the screen at the back. And those bowling balls who don't make it through, who bounce off, they don't make don't leave any mark behind on the screen, right? That you can easily understand. The scientists were doing something like that. Now, instead of bowling balls, we're going to change the experiment. We're going to throw with electrons, which are very small, super small electrons. So then you have to make the slit much smaller, right? And keep the screen in the back. You take a few of these electrons and you bowl. So because they're very tiny, they can even fly. So those who make it through the slit, the electrons, they land also at the screen. But get what? It is not like the bowling ball that where the slit is at the back, there will be the points where he hit. And then where there is no slit, the bowling balls never end there on the screen, right? But with electrons, it goes through the slit and it leaves a whole range of places it hits at the back of the screen. Even there where there is no opening of the slit. Even there electrons go. And they leave an inference pattern. You know inference pattern? Just like a wave, sinusoid. There's peaks and there's valleys. So that will project it as lines on the screen. So that is not something easy to understand. Why does an electron does not behave like a bowling ball? This was the major question in quantum physics, that what is the electron doing? Is the electron something like when you throw it and as it goes, it turns into a wave? It's like it mooshes out into a wave and then it gives a wavy pattern? For many years, they could not understand what was going on. And they were trying to understand matter, right? So then one scientist, he came and he said that no, it's not an electron who was mushed out or something like that. What you see there on the screen is also not where most of the electrons go. What you see on the screen is the chance that if you look for the electron, you will find it there. That's what you see on the screen. Then what? Material nature in its essence is chance? It's not absolute? They didn't like this because scientists are very proud of being absolute, you know. We know we can measure, we can. But here, the double slit experiment, they pulled a rug from underneath that of their safety, of their security. That matter is not, in essence, absolute. You can never know where the electron goes. It can go anywhere. That's the fact. But it also leaves a pattern behind. So what the pattern means is, it's not there where the electron goes most. No, it's not like that. If you look for this little space, for that electron, what is the chance that you can find it there? You can only define the chance, not its actual place. That's pretty weird, isn't it? It would bug everyone, right? Why is it not absolute? Because in this world, it's not like that, right? That if rule comes in, then he can be anywhere, also on the ceiling or under the ground. No, he's here or he is there. We also are here or there. He cannot be everywhere. But in a tiny world, the laws don't function like that. And they didn't like this, the scientists. And on top of that, what turns out is another thing what they saw in matter is, yes, you have a proton and an electron spinning around it. Okay? That much you know. That's the quantum theory. There's nothing more than that. There's a proton and there's an electron. Difficult? No. Okay? Plus minus attracts, plus it bounces off, minus bounces off. That much you know. And that's quantum physics. Now you can get a PhD. How do you do? What is the difficulty? What does it become so complex? It turns out that in the laboratory one time, the scientists were trying to analyze light. Like you have sunlight, and then you have this especially gaseous light. Now we don't have them anymore, but it's called tube light. Now tube light can be from freon gas, all kinds of gases, and you get different colors. So somebody put this gas light under a prism. And if you put sunlight on a prism, you see the beautiful smeared out colors of the rainbow. Yeah. But when they put light of a gas tube in front of the prism, they saw something they never experienced before. There were strokes, you know, like carved, like pencil beams, you know, different colors. And they wonder, why is that? Why is it not smeared out like sunlight? And again, a debate started, along with the double slit experiment and this one also. So then Niels Bohr came up with an amazing contrascience theory, which was when the electron in its orbit gets energized, it jumps up in a higher orbit. And when it leaves that orbit and falls down, then he emanates a specific kind of color. Now here comes the amazing thing. Scientists saw under the microscopes that the electron is either here or there. They don't see them traveling, it jumps. It's like Narad Muni appears, ting here and ting, he's gone. You don't see him traveling, right? He's tung right in Maharaja's palace of Yudhishthira and tung, he's in Swargaloka. Huh? You didn't see him traveling by, he didn't buy a ticket of Air Lufthansa or something like that. He just appears here and disappears. How does he do that? Electrons do the same thing. And that's the amazing thing. It jumps from one to another. But you don't see him jumping anywhere. The places he jumps are fixed. So each orbit around the proton is fixed. It cannot be 1.5. No, it can be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It cannot be 1.2, 1.3.5. No, it's like that. So they understood, why is this? Why are we seeing all this? See, I'm giving you just the observations. I'll give you the Krishna conscious explanation because they don't have that. So then Niels came with the idea that must be because the energy of an electron is quantized. Just like you have a picture, analogical picture, when you make it digital, it forms little blocks, you know. So a quanta is a block of energy, a piece of energy. And they are indivisible. So therefore it can be either 1 quanta, 2 quanta, 3 quanta, 4. Not 1.5 because you can't split them. That explains why the orbits are fixed. I was thinking, is it really like that? How can it be? Why is it quantized? And therefore when it falls into a lower orbit, they call it the quantum leap. That comes the word quantum leap from. And the energy is quantized. That's the quantum theory. Interesting, huh? They're going to observe everything. What is the electron doing? So Niels came up with the idea that the orbits are fixed and each electron has a certain amount of energy which is quantized. And therefore it is like that. Now, experiment after experiment they tried, it turned out to be true. See? Then he also said, how do you know where the electron is? This is like in a double slit experiment. What orbits will take? So they had many, many experiments, and he came to the conclusion, the act of measurement of the spin of an electron, because it also turns around, no? Your act of measurement decides this spin of the electron, decides where the electron is, what it's doing. So Albert Einstein didn't like that idea. He said, do we really believe that reality is depending on whether we have opened our eyes or not? Means if we don't look, then there is no reality. And if you look, then there is a reality. That your act of measurement changes everything. He didn't like the idea. But Niels got it from the scriptures. Maya adhakshena prakriti. That's not that you are looking, Mr. Einstein. Somebody else is looking. Because you also sleep. And if you sleep, then the world would, dissolve? No. Somebody is looking all the time. Maya adhakshena prakriti. So it was proven that the act of measurement, you can call it act of measurement or looking or measuring or consciously staring, it actually changes matter. It moves matter. Right? But if you're not powerful enough in the beginning, and you have 4 heads, they have to do a lot of tapasya and tapasya to gain power, like Brahma. And then you also have the power to create. That's how creation comes, by just glancing over it. It's not just our glance, because our glance can't contain any power, but it's the glance of Vishnu which creates. This is how Vishnu creates. And this is what they have seen in the lab. But they want the theory, but not Vishnu. Somebody else must be glancing. It cannot be Vishnu. Who's glancing then, I mean, all scientists will die. That means that the creation should also die, because nobody's watching anymore. Right? Somebody's watching constantly. Einstein had this idea, I don't like that when I'm not looking that the moon is not there. I like that when I look, the moon is always there, even when I don't look. If looks decide what matter is doing, then it's very strange. So the discussion went so far with Niels Bohr and Einstein that, he didn't like this chance idea. Everything is fixed. This is science. The other thing is it's not science. And he went to that far to say, God doesn't throw dice. God doesn't throw dice, right? Like Shakuni. And when Niels argued with him, he again would say, God doesn't throw dice. Then Niels would reply, stop telling God what to do. So in the beginning, the scientists were reading the Upanishads and the Gita, and they had these far discussions with each other, Later, when they got more playground, then they rejected but deep inside all their successes lies the cry of the Upanishads, and the Gita. And even if they deny, one time they'll have to admit that our gurus are the Sanskrit writings and not somebody else. They get some credit for their brilliance because they are able to change shlokas into mathematical formulas and then explain something in very intricate detail. So that's the first one, Ishvara. Ishvara, how he controls. Then you have Jiva. So we see what Jivas actually are. What are Jivas? By the way, any shloka in the Gita, what describes Jivas? What are Jivas? What does it mean? Yes. In this world where the jivas reside. Mamevangsu jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manah sashthani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Okay? Mamevangsu jiva loke. Jivas are my parts and parcels. Angsha. Mamevangsu jiva loke. But in this world, they live as jivas. An atma which comes here becomes a jiva. Jiva means living in this world. When he becomes liberated, he becomes not jiva bhuta but brahma bhuta. Because now he's reached the level of Brahma. Like that. Jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana. But the existence of jivas, as jivas, is eternal. Manah shashthani indriyani, along with the mind, which is the sixth sense, and the other senses. Manah shashthani indriyani. Prakriti sthani karshati. Situated in Prakriti, they are struggling with the six senses. Isn't it? So everyone's struggling. So this is one aspect of the jiva. I'll give another one, which is quite surprising. This is from the 7th canto. Here it is, who's speaking this? I didn't put that who spoke this. It's not so good. Okay, anyway. O my Lord, being changelessly situated in your own abode, you expand your universal form within its cosmic manifestation, thus appearing to taste the material world. Vishnu is expanding this universe as the universal form and thus appearing to taste the material world, it says here. You are Brahman, the supersoul, the oldest, the personality of Godhead. Now, look at the purport. It is said that the absolute truth appears in three features, namely impersonal Brahman, localized supersoul, and ultimately the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna. The cosmic manifestation is the gross material body of the supreme personality of Godhead, who enjoys the taste of material mellows. Okay. Who enjoys the taste of material mellows by expanding his parts and parcels, the living entities who are qualitatively one with him. Who tastes material mellows? In what form? Oh. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, is situated in the Vaikuntha planets where he enjoys the spiritual mellows. Therefore, the one absolute truth, Bhagavan, pervades all by his material cosmic manifestation, the spiritual Brahman effulgence on his personal existence as the Supreme Lord. What does it say here? That we are actually Krishna's, or Krishna, and our enjoyment is his enjoyment, isn't it? Listen to this one. The cosmic manifestation is the gross material body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who enjoys the taste of material mellows by expanding his parts and parcels, the living entities who are qualitatively one with him. One time in a Mayapur Gurukul, somebody asked Bhaktivedanta Purnaswami at the time, Gurukul Maharaj, when we enjoy, Krishna enjoys, right? So there's no sin in our enjoyment.
But why does we are not enjoyer, Krishna's enjoyer. Everyone says doing sense enjoyment, that's bad. Doing Krishna's enjoyer. So why then that's enjoy, but that's Krishna's enjoyer.
But what did I read here? What you're saying?
When we enjoy, Krishna's enjoy.
This is what it says in this verse here. I didn't write this verse. Prabhupada wrote the verse. How is this? What you're saying is also true. What I'm saying is also true. Two truths cannot contradict each other, isn't it? Isn't it? At least not in our tiny brain. So how is this? Therefore, we have to understand that Krishna is all-pervading. But how is he all-pervading? We think, oh, okay, if you break up an atom, then you'll find him in there. You break up an electron, you'll find him in there. But it's not necessary to break these electrons. Krishna is there in consciousness. As we saw, as Niels had discovered by reading the Upanishads, by somebody's conscious glance, somebody's conscious awareness, this material world is maintained. Right? He saw that. So what does it mean? That consciousness is maintaining the existence. If consciousness is not there, it will be destroyed. Now see, what kind of consciousness exists in this world? You have awake consciousness. When you're awake, you can see this external world. You can see your body also, your gross body. But when that consciousness is, when that consciousness is put to rest, not aware, you enter into sleep with dreams, right? Swapna is the second state of consciousness. So, if the world is being maintained by consciousness of Vishnu, then what maintains dreams? It's another form of Vishnu. It's called Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, right? He manifests that consciousness which allows us to be able to dream. Vijay Gauranga Del Nitai Ki Jai. Just like the gross existence is facilitated by Paramatma, Kshirodusaya Vishnu. And if you go one step, deeper, you go into Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, who's maintaining dreams. And then there is a state of consciousness in which you have deep sleep, where there is no awareness of your dreams, there are no dreams in there, and neither of your body. Body is not available in dreams. You forget your body. Either you die or not die. When you dream, it doesn't matter whether you die, have you died or not, because you're not aware of your body anyway, right? So you're not your body. But then in deep sleep, there are also no dreams. That means there is no subtle body. There is no mind in there. What remains if there is no body and mind? What remains then? Sapna is dreaming. In deep sleep, there is no dreaming. There is this calmness. Yes, it's Mahavishnu. But he is creating that state of consciousness. But what does it mean for the jiva? Because then it becomes experiential, right? The jiva in deep sleep, it doesn't have body and mind. What does it have then? The Atman. Atman remains. So each night when you go in deep sleep, you have some self-realization, some level of Atma consciousness, isn't it? In deep sleep, you're only Atma, there's no mind. So even you experience every night. Now, if you can go into deep sleep where there is no body and mind awareness, that's called Samadhi. But with your eyes open, are you able to do that? If you're not able to do that, you're not properly chanting. The Samadhi, which we want to attain in yoga or in chanting, has to come from that level. If you don't come to that level, then you're not Brahma Bhuta. You're still Prakriti Bhuta, your consciousness, or you're Swapna Bhuta, but you're not Brahma Bhuta. And from Brahma Bhuta only Bhakti starts. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. And that Prasanna, that calmness is coming from Mahavishnu. The jiva goes to sleep on the lap of Mahavishnu in deep sleep. So that Prasanna Atma, na sochati, na kankshati. When you have deep sleep, you have no worries, and you have no desires. Just peace. See? And when you reach that state, with your eyes open, means by chanting or by meditation, that you're not aware of your body or your mind, then samah sarveshu bhuteshu, you can see equal vision to everyone. And then Krishna says, from that state my bhakti starts, not before that. So, it sounds very far out, but every night you're going through this. So what's the difficulty? How do you feel when you are in deep sleep? You can't see anything, you can't smell anything, you can't speak anything. And still you're aware that I'm not dead in deep sleep, right? In turn, very much you're in bliss. So if you can maintain that state of consciousness while you're chanting, then see what the magic do, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will do. Because when you cross that state, you enter into the state of your Swarup. Because there are only 4 levels of consciousness. The 4th one is called Turiya. which means Brahmajyoti, Vaikuntha, and Goloka. That's all the fourth state, depending on your relationship. But that crossing of the Viraja river, Mahavishnu state, that's what we want. It says when a Jivatma leaves the material world, it has to bathe in the Viraja river and leave its subtle body behind. Right? So only Atma goes there. But you can only go there if there is a relationship. And that is what it means when it says, Harir Nameva, Harir Nameva, Harir Nameva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatigrandhita. That crossing of the Viraja river it's only be possible by the holy name of Krishna's, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There's no other way. You cannot force yourself as a yogi into that because you don't have any adhikar, you have no relationship. Okay, you might end up in Brahmajyoti, that's all. But if you have a relationship, that Samandha Gyan will pull you further into the highest realm. So sometimes devotees think that Hare Nameva Kevalam means only by the holy name you can get prasad and maintain your body. Is that what it means? Hare Nameva Kevalam? No. It's by the holy name that you put your flour and butter and milk and sugar and ghee and you put it on the table and you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And when you look, it turns into a nice cake. Does it happen like that? It doesn't happen like that, see? So the Hare Krishna mantra is not meant for cooking, right? The Hare Krishna mantra is not meant for maintaining your body. Now, let us look in the dream state. Does Hare Krishna mantra do anything with your dreams? I dream, Hare Krishna, I get a beautiful car, Hare Krishna, a red car, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, BMW, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, made in Germany. Does it happen? Does the mantra create a nice car for you? Your desires are being fulfilled by that? To a certain degree, Prabhupada warns, if you have material desires in your chanting, that the holy name might fulfill the desire and entangle you further if you have a focused desire. But that's not what the Hare Krishna mantra is meant for. See, it is meant to cross the Viraja river and attain that state. So now, the question which we had originally was that, as he was saying, that we are not the enjoyers. Krishna is the enjoyer. And here it says, Vishnu himself is saying, or Prabhupada is saying that the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands into jivas to taste material rasa. So he tastes this through us also. Now, how can we reconcile all this? Is this contradictory? In one sense, yes. On external platform, it's contradictory. But if you put another view on it, the view of Mahavishnu, that Mahavishnu is emanating multiple universes from his pores. And then he injects all these jivas, which is he himself, but in minuscule forms. We are all small Mahavishnus. Therefore we like to sleep also. But our sleeping is different. That means he himself has entered the world, and he sees it like that. So that statement here, only Vishnu can say that. We are being used as tools for him to enjoy. Right? Like that.
In which stage we can be used by the Lord?
Sorry?
In which stage? Because sometimes we say that the Brahmana will eat
yeah, this like this morning through the mouth of the Brahmans I eat. That's one other explanation, that's how he enjoys. So there are two ways here. If a Brahmana is an Uttamadhikari, he doesn't care to offer the bhoga because he sees everything is already offered to Krishna. If he's not an Uttamadhikari, then he will offer it to Krishna. So Krishna eats and then he eats. Not through him literally. Before if you see Brahmanas, how they eat? They do prakshalan of the place. They do parisheshana. Om pranaya swaha, om paya swaha, om vyanaya swaha. If Brahman is doing this, you have ever learned it? Deity worship. Pranaya swaha, panaya swaha, vyanaya swaha, udanaya swaha, swaha. So these are the 5 pranas. And these pranas are aham vaishvanaro bhutva. I'm residing in everyone's body as the stomach fire. And therefore Brahmana, when he starts eating, before that he offers to the 5 pranas, to Vishnu. Then he eats. See? So his eating is a sacrifice. And such Brahmanas you should invite, not those who don't do parisheshana. Of course, prasad you don't have to do, he's already eaten it. But that's the idea. When it says, I'm eating through the mouth of the Brahmanas, it is like that. He's offering to the 5 pranas. And therefore we have these things in deity worship. Everything is there. Only we're not aware of it. That's the problem. And I'm trying to make devotees aware of this. You're already aware You already experienced dreaming and deep sleep. You never did anything with it. Why? Because those teachers from your school never told you about these facts. And you read from the Bhagavatam, you say, huh? Is it like that? It is like that. Vishnu's there in wake state, Vishnu's there in dreaming, Vishnu's there in deep sleep. And Krishna is there in your transcendental relationship. Do something with it. Every night he's calling you on his lap. And you're sleeping nicely, being recharged like a mobile. And in the morning said, bye, Pitaji, I'm going to enjoy it in the Jagaran world, an external world. And then you wonder, how can a jiva fall? How can he fall from Vaikuntha? Think, how can he fall from the lap of his father every night? You rascal. Are you blaming, oh, original fall down, this. Think, every night you're falling from his lap. Why you do that? Why don't you stay on his lap and look in his face? Wake up. Right? And he's telling you, if my lap is so calming and nice and enjoyable, how nice it would be to wake up and have a personal relationship with him. He's teaching, but we always turn our back around him. And we wonder how it happened. We fell from the Goloka, this and that. First think why you're falling every night from Vishnu's lap, Yeah, think of it. Why you're so attached to this world? That you don't care to live that dimension, And I was discussing with him this afternoon that even when you're awake, these states of consciousness are in you, right? Isn't it that when you observe this external world, you also need the subtle dimension of you, your mind, intelligence, and ego, to observe something? Or if you're looking at it, and your mind is somewhere else, then somebody says, hey, wake up, wake up. Oh, yes. So physically, the eyes are focused there, but the mind is somewhere else. Unless the mind is also focused on that, you can't even see it, though you're looking at it. Pashan api na pashyati. Isn't it? That's how it works. Here's another one. I can't visualize him. I can't remember him, but I know I have a bond. I don't know where it comes from, but I feel I know him. Isn't it? Ever had this? That means the mind is not able to visualize. Means dreams are absent. Right? And you also physically don't see him. But you feel there is a bond. Which level of consciousness is this? The third one, deep sleep. In deep sleep, there are no eyes, there's no mouth, there's no nose, there's only feeling. So while awake, you're saying, I feel that I know him, or I know that I know him, but I can't remember how he looks like. In other words, my swapna is not functioning properly. Jagaran, I don't know, but I feel that he is. So you're using your state of sushupti, your trance state of consciousness in this world. And that's a nice thing. The third state of consciousness is understanding by feeling. There where the mind can't go, because the mind cannot visualize, feeling can go. And by this, the acharyas prove higher than karma is jnana. That's very obvious. When you're awake, you're doing karma. When you're sleeping, there is jnana. But there where jnana cannot go, bhakti can go, feeling can go. See? That's how they prove the superiority, supremacy of bhakti. Interesting, huh? How, if you analyze, even from this quantum physicists, you can also see how they think and how they analyze things, right? So this is the thing. Everything is in there in the Gita in these 5 topics. Ishvara, Jiva. We saw already many amazing things. Now another one. Time is running. Okay, I just read that only that section. From the 7th canto, 12th chapter, verse number 15. It says, the living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus one should understand that since the Supreme Lord has entered the atom, the living entities are also there. Is Krishna alone as Paramatma in the atom? No, you are also in the atom. Hey, if you are in the atom, then the president is also in the atom. And your kid is also in the atom. Isn't that mind-blowing? Because when Krishna was showing the mouth and she saw the whole universe, Mother Yashoda, she also saw herself in the mouth of Krishna looking in his mouth. Isn't it? And that Yashoda was seeing herself in that mouth of that Krishna, right? Looking at Krishna's mouth. Right here it says, one must accept the inconceivable quality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for no one can understand from the material point of view how the Lord is all pervasive and yet is situated in his own abode, Goloka Vrindavan. Now here, this realization is possible if one strictly follows the regulatory principles of ashrama, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha and sannyas. Amazing, huh? How Krishna is all pervading. The main clue is that he is consciousness. Krishna is pure consciousness. And when he touches matter, or not touches matter, but he like deals with matter, he becomes Vishnu. That's pretty interesting. So now the third one was time. Okay? Is Krishna seen in time? Does anybody know how to explain that he's also in time? Or maybe he's time himself? Anybody knows the verse where he says, I'm time? Kalosmi aham lokakshaya krit pravriddho. That is from the 11th canto or chapter, which we are reading here. It will come later. And now see, time is cyclical, as we know. There are cycles of time. And a smaller cycle is the clock, whole cycle. Then it expands into months, months into seasons, seasons into years, right? Time is cyclical. Every time seasons reappear. Now, going so far that there are 4 seasons in one cycle, and these 4 seasons are the 4 yugas: Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. They're also like seasons. When you take 71 of these cycles, that represents one form of Vishnu. Which form does it represent? 71 cycles of 4 yugas. That is a manvantara. And each manu is in form of Vishnu. So you can see directly that Vishnu is representing time. And because time is built out of manvantaras, time is always representing Vishnu. Agree? So that's the third one. How is all pervading in time? You saw how is Ishwar, how is in matter, even to quantum physics, they've been seeing that. Then the third one, Prakriti. Prakriti means? Sorry? Yes. But what's specific about material nature? The feminine aspect, isn't it? That the feminine aspect of Prakriti, that is Krishna. Anybody knows the verse where he says that how he is feminine? How Krishna is feminine? I have to look it up, otherwise you can... It's also from the same 11th chapter. Among women I am sweet speech, memory. What is the verse? Anyway, you remember that it is there. Okay. Sorry? Okay, this came up. Anyway, so Krishna is that, the feminine aspect in material nature. It might be from the 10th or 11th chapter. And then we have the last one, Prakriti, we had already here. Prakriti is very elaborate. Karma. Mrityu sarva haraschaham. Udbhavascha. Which verse number is that? 1034. Yes. Mrityu sarva haraschaham udbhavascha bhavishyatam kirtir shrirvakcha narinam smritir medha dhriti kshama. I'm all devouring death. I'm the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I'm fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. It's amazing, huh? We try to learn all this in the Gurukul, in education, but they're all feminine. Fame, Kirti, is a feminine deity. Fortune, Lakshmi, is a feminine deity. Fine speech, Saraswati, is a feminine deity. Memory, Smriti, is a feminine deity. Intelligence, what does it say here? Intelligence is Medha, it's also feminine. Steadfastness, Dhriti, is also feminine. And patience, Dhairya, or Kshama says here, it's also feminine. So in Prakriti, you can see how Vishnu is present in a feminine form. Now karma. How can one see in one's karma that Vishnu is always present? Any verse from the Gita which says I'm karma? What is karma, by the way, first? How does Prabhupada define karma in the introduction of the Gita? Karmanivadhikaraste, that verse? You have the right to perform your duties, but the fruits are not entitled. You're not entitled to the fruits. Don't think yourself to be the cause of your actions and never be attached to not doing your duty. Not really. A little difficult. Karma is defined in the introduction of the Gita as activities performed with material nature under the influence of time. So these three factors together, they decide what is karma. There must be material nature, there must be time, and there must be activities, which means like the jiva is doing things. Then you can speak of karma, right? So we have different kinds of karma in the Gita. Papa karma, punya karma, akarma, vikarma, like that. And how's that? Yes. Well, I'm looking for a specific verse where Krishna mentions that there are 5 factors of karma. Adhishtanam tatha karta karanam cha prithak vidham vividhascha pratak cheshta devam chavatra panchamam. He says, anybody thinks that he's the doer only and doesn't consider these 5 actions, he's not very intelligent. Means the place of action, the doer, the senses, the endeavors, and the sanctioning of the Supreme. They combine, and then when these 5 are correct, you're definitely bound to be successful. Now, regarding material nature, we always know about these kind of things. But there are other things which material nature offers us, and which we're not so much aware of. I'm going to read it to you. It's from the 11th canto. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. Got it. Among the 8 primary mystic perfections, the 3 by which one can transform one's own body are anima, becoming smaller than the smallest, mahima, becoming greater than the greatest, laghima, becoming lighter and the lightest. Through the perfection of prapti, one acquires whatever one desires, and through prakamya siddhi, one experiences any enjoyable object, either in this world or the next. Through ishita siddhi, one can manipulate the sub-potencies of maya. And through the controlling potency called vashita siddhi, one is unimpeded by the 3 modes of nature. One who has acquired kama vashayita siddhi can obtain anything from anywhere to the highest possible limit. My dear gentle Uddhava, these 8 mystic perfections are considered to be naturally existing and unexcelled within this world. Naturally existing, right? So nothing is really fascinating because they're already inbuilt, you know. Then he goes says further, Krishna, he says, the 10 secondary mystic perfections arise from the modes of nature. Arising from the modes of nature are the powers of freeing oneself from hunger and thirst and all other bodily disturbances, hearing and seeing things far away, moving the body at the speed of the mind, assuming any form or desires, entering the body of others, dying when one desires, witnessing the pastimes between the demigods and the celestial girls called apsaras, completely executing one's determination and giving orders whose fulfillment is unimpeded. They arise from the modes, right? The power to know past, present, and future, tolerance of heat and cold, and other dualities, knowing the minds of others, checking the influence of fire, sun, water, poison, and so on, and remaining unconquered by others. These constitute 5 perfections of the mystic perfect process of yoga and meditation. I'm simply listing these here according to their names and characteristics. Now please learn from me how specific mystic perfections arise from specific meditations, and also the particular process involved. Interesting. So you see that as Vishnu is controlling through his mind, as we saw, like Niels Bohr discovered that the act of measurement, you put in consciousness, then you can change matter. In the same way, Krishna is creating this world, and the same principle following. And we little jivas can actually only act when we put consciousness in our action. We are not so strong, so we need our gross physical body to manipulate. But unless there is thought behind it, it cannot actually happen. Right? So in this way, you will find that the universal principles of the universe, the Virat form, is also there within us. And as they say in English, as above, so below. Macrocosm is the same as microcosm. Only they are not so obvious. They're not so much visible. Because our dimension is a dimension of 2 or 3 meters. Everything happens in this dimension. When you get above this, like 30, 40 meters, then you already, how high am I? It's really difficult to measure how high you are because we are habituated to living in 2 dimensions, though we think it's 3 dimensions. Right? We can easily estimate the distance between here and Radhadesh, for example. We can easily estimate how much you have to go left, right, front. But if you have, how high do you have to go? How high is that airplane flying? Right? You go to an airport and see when these airplanes they climb in the air. You measure, you estimate. Now it's 10 meters, 20 meters. It's so difficult, right? Because you don't have any concept. Or that we live in 2 dimensions, though we have an ego of being in control of the universe, right? You would ask a bird, he would much more be able to describe how high he's flying, because his experience is different. It also has height in it. So, okay, it's time here. Any questions or comments?
Too high.
Too high. I like to make those things in Bhagavatam nobody speaks about to, make it brighter. You see? So it is right there. I can point out. You will come across this. No, you'll be not here probably by then. But the 7th canto mentions these 4 states of consciousness. And the thing here is now we're going into a period of ISKCON where there is a lot of dissatisfaction. Devotees don't like to hear the books. They feel, I have heard everything already, know everything already. And then you come across me. Huh? I never heard that before. It's right there in the books. Right? We have to be able to present the thing according to our time and space and present it in a way it's new again. Because if this is Sanatan Dharma, eternal, it was true then, it is true now, and it will be true in the future. Right? And sometimes it's, you can repeat, but if you keep on repeating the same way, it's like a hammer. You're hammering. And it won't have much effect. So we have to see, how do people have adapted their minds? How are they thinking? How can we cater to that? And at present, my feeling is ISKCON has to focus on how to elevate consciousness. First, become aware of consciousness. And then work on that. Right? Because we're not really consciously doing things. We do things as a routine, without thinking about it, without... Huh? Yeah. So if you have consciousness here, you're analytical, then you can hope to attain Krishna Prema also. Which is also a state of consciousness. Right? Grantaraj Shri Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Vorträge.